Greetings, learners. This is Mr. Mapie from Rendhaus College. We are going to proceed on people in organization, business studies, advanced level. Remember, we said the success of every institution hinges on how best the management manages the human resource, how best leadership manages people. So we are interested on how people manages people. In business studies, we embrace the demands of the new curriculum as advocated by the Nziramasanga Commission of 1999, which says that we should produce a learner who is relevant in the industry, a learner who can produce services, who can produce goods and services after learning. So we are saying our lessons are not just lessons for passing the examinations, but they are lessons for learning. They are lessons which are grooming individuals to become relevant in the industry. We then embrace the demands of the Education 5.0 as articulated by the two ministries of education, the Ministry of Primary and Secondary in Zimbabwe and the Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education. We embrace that in business studies. So you are going to find that these lessons are even relevant in business. Those in business can use these lessons to manage the human resource. Okay, today we are looking at another very, very important topic, which is delegation. Delegation under people in organization. By the end of the lesson, we expect, or your syllabus demands you to be able to, one, define delegation. You should be able to define delegation. Number two, you should be in a position to outline or explain the advantages of delegation. As well, we expect you to explain the barriers to effective delegation. Last but not least, we are going to be tempted, obvious, to deal with why, explain some of those reasons why some managers are reluctant to delegate, why they don't want to delegate. I would be tempted as well to look at accountability and responsibility, because part of delegation, you are also assigning responsibility to someone. You are probably assigning accountability to someone. So we are going to look at that. If time permits, we are also going to answer an examination question or a typical examination question. Okay? Let's kickstart the discussion. What is delegation? Delegation is a process by which managers, such as school heads, transfer part of their authority to subordinates for performance of certain tasks and the responsibility. For example, the school head may assign some of the administrative tasks to the deputy, or the head may assign the senior master at a school to do some tasks. Probably those tasks should be done by the head, but because of maybe the task or the nature of the task, the school head will say, I'm assigning the senior master to do that. Maybe at your organization, the manager will assign the supervisor to do that, or one of the most loyal subordinate may be assigned to do some of the supervisory roles. So that's part of what we call delegation. You are assigning tasks to subordinates. The superior is assigning tasks to subordinates. Okay? Why is it important to delegate? What are the reasons for delegation? Is it necessary or it's not necessary? Okay? One, delegation reduces management stress and workload. It actually reduces the work or the load on management, since they will be assigning some of those tasks to those at the periphery or those at lower levels. At the same time, delegation senior management to focus on key tasks and delegate less important tasks to subordinates. We are saying there are some tasks which are just easy and may be given to lower management. Even at the church, there are some duties that should be done by junior pastors. Because the church program is an organization. We are saying let the top hierarchy focus on what is important. Let the top hierarchy focus on what is more difficult. And let the subordinates do what is probably less important. However, some of the subordinates may require what is more challenging, as we said, according to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the self-esteem. We said some employees might want some tasks which are challenging, so even delegate those tasks which are challenging to them. Okay, subordinates are motivated and empowered. When we delegate, subordinates obviously are going to be motivated. Subordinates are going to be empowered. They feel that they are part of the organization. This is part of what we call motivation. You are giving someone a task. This is part of what we said. You remember we discussed job enrichment, we discussed job enlargement. By so doing, this is part of delegation. You are enlarging someone's responsibilities. As well, delegation opens those chances for better decisions, since employees are knowledgeable to the use of resources. They now know what the manager was doing. They can do it even themselves. It's a good method of on-the-job training. As we are going to be covering the methods of training, remember on-the-job training is recommended. Why? Because there is no bottlenecks. There is no stoppage in production. On-the-job training allows someone to learn on the job, at the same time producing goods and services for the same institution. Unlike hiring someone from another academic institution, we are just employing someone. We are teaching that individual to do the job probably that is more demanding. Okay, we are going to look again at the conditions for effective delegation. What are the conditions? What makes you delegate? These are the conditions, and they are very, very pertinent. Number one, you need to select the person to delegate. You need to have the person on the basis of sound knowledge. We are saying you need to find the right person at the right time, which fits the right place. You should not select someone who is not willing to take the challenge. You should not take someone who is rude. Someone may perform even dismal after being given the opportunity to learn new tasks. So we are saying select the right person for the right purpose. Okay? Number two, the nature and the scope of the work to be delegated must be clearly defined. Let me try to explain the nature. When we say nature, we are referring to the complexity or how easy the task is. Because of time, we are just going to have a short break. I'm going to proceed in the next segment looking at the conditions for effective delegation. Welcome back, learners. We are still on delegation. Remember, in the first segment, we defined delegation. We also looked at some of the conditions for effective delegation. Maybe we just looked at the first one. But prior to those conditions, we also discussed why it is important to delegate. Is it important or not? But I'm sure by now, you are now seeing the relevance. You are appreciating the relevance of delegating. Okay, let's proceed on the conditions for effective delegation. Number one, we said for you to delegate effectively, you need to select the person to delegate on the basis of sound knowledge. How is that person capable? Is that person able to do the job? So you need to select the right person for the right task. As well, we discussed the nature and the scope of the work. And we're saying if the nature and scope of the work is complicated, there is no need for you to delegate. I think that's where you would find the leaders or managers adopting what we discussed as the autocratic style of leadership. We say there are some reasons for one to adopt the autocratic style of leadership. We said they do that simply because the nature and scope of the work is complex. So if it's complex, there is no need for someone to delegate that task. But if it's an easy task, not that so demanding or not that challenging, you can delegate. Number 3, we also need to take into consideration clarity. You need to clarify the task to be done by a subordinate. You need to clarify. It should be something that is not clear. Be very clear from the onset. The subordinate needs to know what he or she is supposed to do. You need to give all the instructions necessary so that you don't blame a subordinate for underperforming when you as the leader, you were not clear from the very onset. As well, the person to whom the job is delegated must be capable of carrying out and willing to take the responsibility. Remember, we say the responsibility and accountability sounds to be part of our delegation process. So we are saying that person should be willing to take the responsibility. Never delegate a task to someone who is not willing. Never delegate a task to someone who is not able, who is not capable. You need to delegate the task to someone who is willing, who is motivated by working, as advocated by McGregor's Theory 1, saying that a worker wants to work, wants new challenges, okay? You also need some form of reporting when you delegate. Someone should not have the license fair, whereby we say that the hands-off way of learning, let them do it. When you delegate, you don't need to use that license fair. You need to adopt the democratic style of leadership, whereby the one at the epitome, the one at the apex of the organogram, or the one who assigned the tasks, still possesses or still has that authority to make some key decisions. So there should be some form of reporting to provide a means of progress in terms of control, in terms of communication, which means we are saying there should be a two-way communication when you delegate. Two-way communication offers that leeway for feedback. There is an opportunity for feedback. Okay? Last but not least, successful achievement of delegated tasks should be rewarded. I think that's where we talk of issues like performance appraisal in business studies. We are saying when someone performed beyond par, someone performed beyond what we expected, or someone just met the standards, that person should be rewarded. That person should be given more money for that. That person should be given the hygiene factors as said by Hesbeck, two-factor theory, or that person should be given those motivators as again said by Hesbeck. Okay? What are the barriers to effective communication? What limits effective delegation? Effective delegation, I mean. What limits effective delegation? The barriers to effective delegation. 1. Insecurity. I want to emphasize that. Insecurity. Where the leader is not ready to take chances or risks or fear that the subordinates may let him or her down. There are chances whereby a subordinate is given a task and that subordinate perform below par, perform below expected standards. But remember, we said the one who is superior still is accountable for the performance of a subordinate. Since that person is accountable, we are trying to say the leader will feel insecure to assign some of those responsibilities simply because a subordinate may perform below standard. Okay? Number 2, fear of loss of power. If subordinates do the task very well and even better than their superiors. Many instances we have seen that there are some subordinates who can even perform better than their superiors. By performing better than your superior, in some instances, if the superior or if other subordinates are not well educated, may then lose faith in their leader and begin to trust a subordinate more than the superior, or even begin to trust that one who is doing better than the superior, which results in loss of power. Okay? Some managers may fail to plan ahead. Failure to plan is a limitation, is a weakness for one to effectively delegate. You cannot plan. Because part of delegation requires one to plan. You need to plan whatever you are doing so effectively, so that one who is going to carry the task in your absence knows what he or she is expected to do. This makes the task difficult if you fail to plan and decide which tasks to delegate and to whom to delegate. The atmosphere of the organization as well determines how delegation is going to be effectively undertaken. So we are trying to say this is the prerogative of the leader to make sure that the atmosphere of the organization is conducive. The atmosphere of the organization allows one to be given some tasks. When we are saying it is conducive, one shouldn't fear that if given a task, others will gossip. Others will say this one is favored by the manager more than this one. So we are saying you should create an atmosphere that is conducive. As well, the lack of trust between managers and staff. Some managers will not trust the subordinates. Hence, they will not delegate because they don't trust you. They feel if you are given the task, you may end up taking the responsibility that is not yours. Last but not least, some managers continuously monitor work of subordinates and hence find it difficult to delegate. In the last segment, we are going to discuss reasons why managers are reluctant to delegate. As for now, we are going to have a short break. Welcome back to the final segment on delegation. Remember, in the first two segments, we defined what is delegation. We discussed the importance of delegation. We also looked at the importance, the conditions of delegation. In the second segment, we also hinted on what we are going to look at this segment, which is reasons probably for managers not to delegate, why managers may be reluctant or may not be willing to delegate some tasks. Okay, number one reason why managers are reluctant to delegate, there is what we call fear of the unknown. Fear of the unknown. I heard a certain preacher saying that the word fear means the false evidence appearing real. It therefore means a leader or a superior may be afraid of the unknown. What the leader doesn't know. What will happen if I delegate? Probably the subordinate may perform better, or probably the subordinate may perform dismal. Yet the leader or the superior is responsible or is accountable for those duties. If the leader is accountable for those duties, it means that leader is going to be answerable for misshap. Is going to be responsible and accountable for any bottlenecks in the production. Okay, number two, sometimes managers do not have delegation skills. Someone may not have those delegation skills, but I'm sure that by the end of this lesson, as a manager at your company, as a leader at that political organization, as a leader at that institution of education, you now know some of the skills of delegation. So some managers were saying may not delegate because they don't have those skills to delegate. They cannot plan, they cannot think ahead, they cannot assign those tasks that should be done, okay? Staff managers may fear that some employees might perform better than them, doing the tasks better than them. That's what we call insecurity. Employees or subordinates are doing better than the manager. And I know that everyone, if there is something that everyone needs is power, and no one would want to delegate power. Everyone would want all the praises, all the celebrations. Everyone wants to be the hero, and everyone wants to stay where he or she is welcomed. And if there is someone who is taking your position, you feel challenged, you feel that the party is stolen, you feel that the organization is stolen. So some managers fear that some employees might perform better than them. Okay? Number 4, some managers feel better doing it on their own. There are some managers who just feel better doing those tasks. I'll give you examples, especially in education. You'll find we may have some headmasters who feel they still want to teach, and they'll be doing that so excellently. So those managers might find it difficult. Those headmasters, those headmistresses, those principals might find it difficult to delegate. They would enjoy teaching economics. They would enjoy teaching that Shona subject. They would enjoy teaching geography. Yes, they may not feel safe that someone is teaching it, or when someone is teaching it, they still feel that it's not performing as per expected standards. As well, another reason for not delegating, or for managers being reluctant to delegate, is the shyness. Others may be shy. They're just ashamed to do so. So they cannot delegate. Class related to delegation is an interesting area, obvious, which is accountability and responsibility. I'm going to define what is accountability and what is responsibility. I'm going to differentiate those two areas so that you master what is responsibility, you grasp what is accountability. Now, responsibility is the obligation to carry out assigned tasks. It is the obligation to carry out assigned tasks or duties. Whilst accountability is the obligation to carry out responsibility. To carry out responsibility. What are we saying? We are saying responsibility is a child of accountability. For example, I may be given a responsibility, but that doesn't mean that I am given the accountability. When someone is responsible, it simply means he's obligated to do something. You are responsible to do a certain task. And accountability is concerned with the exercise of authority. You are exercising that authority, which means accountability has authority. Accountability has responsibility in terms of performance standards established by the superior. So it is an obvious case that when a superior delegates, the superior remains with accountability, whilst the subordinate will have the responsibility. So we are saying the superior will be answerable, whilst the subordinate will be obligated to carry that task. So responsibility means duties, whilst accountability means being answerable for the actions. Learners, we have come to the end of the lesson, but it is also at the best interest of this lesson that we also answer some examination questions, or typical examination questions. What you expect in examination, remember we said that it is education for learning, it is also education for passing. So we are training you to pass the examination. We have a question like this one, which is evaluate the relevance of delegation on business organizations. Now we do have keywords there. The word evaluate, relevance, And I'm so excited that delegation is part of today's discussion. Now, we are constrained or compelled to only focus on business organizations, which means churches are not included, which means non-profit making organizations are not included. So we don't expect a student to discuss other concepts which are not related to business organizations. Okay? I'm helping you to articulate on examination questions. When a question at advanced level asks you to evaluate, that person is demanding the ability in you to look at both sides of the coin, which means you should look at both sides, the merits and the demerits of delegation in business organizations. So I'm giving you this as an assignment. We are going to meet in the next lesson, but as for now, you are going to go and write this question as you prepare for your examinations. I can call it a good day for you. Let's hope we're going to meet in the next lesson. As for now, it's bye-bye.